I'm Dennis with HEPpro.com. In this series of photos we will be in the beginning stages of building a swimming pool. If you take all the time needed for these steps, the rest of the installation will go much easier. The first photo shows me with my Ryan Jr. sod cutter. The majority of my installs are done with either the sod cutter or at times my jackhammer when things get really rough. This photo shows the sod cutter working on a very thin layer of grass. As thin as it is, it still needs to be dug out. This small amount of grass is easily raked out of the pool area. With a full head of hair, we would be in there with flat shovels and wheelbarrows digging up the grass and moving it out of the pool area. Many people in the business prefer using bobcats or other types of tractors. I have seen heavy equipment do more harm than good so many times. The grass gets buried back into the ground instead of being neatly removed. The area may be left full of large tire tracks, making leveling so much harder. A sod cutter cuts under the grass a couple of inches. The grass, along with a little dirt, can be either shoveled or at times rolled up and lifted out of the pool area, leaving a nice, clean, flat surface with no vegetation, something that you can really get to work on with the next phase of leveling. Photo 2 shows the area just about raked off and ready for me to set up a transit and check the level. Notice the screwdriver in the center of the pool. I place that there to hold the end of my tape measure. I then walk off the pool area and get the okay from the customer that this is where they want the pool to go. With that done, this is exactly where the pool will end up. The center point will not be removed until the track is down and around. The ground is cleared about 2 feet beyond the radius of the pool, so on this 24-foot round pool, the area is cleared at 4 foot, up to 14 foot from the center point. Photo 3 shows my favorite tool, a laser transit. I probably spent 30 years looking through a scope at the numbers on a stick being held by an employee. Not anymore. With a laser, it's a one-man job. On the number stick is a receiver. It reads the beam from the laser and allows me to use it during the day. Otherwise, I would be like some of my customers working only at night because that is the only way to see the beam. The part on the top of the laser goes around in circles very fast, so no matter where in the yard you are working, you can always catch the beam. And it's always perfectly level. Photo 4 shows me using my laser level. All the vegetation has been removed and it is time to scope it out and see what needs to be done. I am on the high side now, probably a couple inches of slope to the other side. I bring back the sod cutter and break up the high side dirt and slide it all smoothly down to the low side. With some careful shoveling and raking, the ground can be leveled to well within an inch. This is my goal at this point. Once the ground is level and raked, the sod cutter goes back over it and packs it all into place. The ground gets raked again, and we are ready for the bottom track. The track and foot plates get passed out, and as shown in photo 5, they get connected. Notice the tape measure. It is hooked to the screwdriver in the center of the pool. Every time 2 pieces of track go into a foot plate, they get set at 12 foot. I go around the whole pool, connecting and setting the rail back at the 12-foot mark until I reach the last connection. Here's where you need to get it right because you want a round pool, right? Every brand of pool will set at a different radius. Every brand will use a slightly different gap between the rails at the foot plate. When we do enough of the same pool, we get this down pretty good and wind up very close at the end. With new models, it is a guessing game. We are guessing on the rail gap and we are guessing on the radius. We don't know for sure on the gap until later, but for now we need to get the radius right. So you reach the end and you're 2 inches shy of the rails meeting. Do you just push that in a little bit and make the connection, completing the circle? No, because now you do not have a circle. We must assume the radius for this pool is slightly less than 12 foot, so we go back around setting the track at 11 foot 11 inches. Back at the last connection, we meet up perfectly and have a perfectly round pool. You need to check and recheck your radius as often as you think you need to in order to get it just right. You want a perfectly round pool. Moving on to photo 6, I am going to level each footplate using the laser. I set them all exactly level. There is no give or take an inch or give or take a quarter. They all set exact. In Arizona, where we do most of my work, the ground is rock hard and I seldom have the need to use blocks, but if I'm in sandy conditions or the conditions require it, I will install blocks at this time. Digging out under each footplate, putting the block in, and then leveling each footplate as usual, as well as the ground in between the footplates. Where the rails sit is just as important as leveling the footplates. You don't want the rails dipping, you don't want them raising. You want them flat and level. If you can't see this once you have your footplates leveled, if you can't see if they're going up or down, use the laser, check the ground in between. Make sure it's all flat. Photo 7 shows my helper adding a little dirt under a post. We do a good job of leveling in the early stages, so when we get to this step, it is usually just a quarter up or maybe down a quarter. The dirt in between the rails gets raised or lowered at the same time. With that done, we take another look at the pool base inside the rails. Usually it just needs one more rake over. Dirt may need scraped off a high area or filled into a low area. Once the rails are leveled, it's easier to see just what you do need to do inside the rails. And if in doubt, use that laser again. Make sure you don't have any high spots or low spots. You want this all flat. Photo 8 is where I will be winding up this page. What we have is a perfectly round and perfectly level pool. The dirt is all smooth, no rocks, no high spots, no low spots. It is as good as it gets. Do not go past this point until you are sure it is as good as it gets. In the photo, I am applying the grass killer. We use a product called Zap It that is specially made to go under vinyl liners. It is non-oil based, so we can set the pool up immediately after treating the ground. Spraying the sand with a small amount of water just before installing the liner activates the chemical. If you're doing this yourself and have the time, it is fine to use an oil-based weed killer or grass killers like the Ortho products. It is not a bad idea to spray the ground and watch it for a week or so. If there are signs of growth, do it again. Just don't install the liner over ground recently treated with an oil-based killer.